Hey everybody, it's Joe Trippi, and welcome back to That Trippi Show with my co-host Alex Ashlow. This week, Alex and I are both on the road. I'm coming at you actually from where Alex is in Chicago. This week, Alex and I have been on the road in Iowa and other places, but you've got more great questions. A couple of more primaries I want to get into, and a lot of you are worried. Socialists, Democratic socialists taking over. Plus, what's going on with Trump and the Senate? Alex, where do you want to get started? Because we always start where Alex wants to go.
Well, the last 4 days it have not been where we want to go, although we had a good time in Alabama, so it got a lot done down there. So all good. Been on the road this week.
Iowa wasn't that bad, talking to farmers. It was pretty.
Oh, yeah.
And every a lot time, too. Go ahead.
Every time I go to Iowa, I learn something. And I can't say that about every state. But so here's where I want to start. While we were traveling, there were some more primaries. I want to talk about DC a little bit. Last week, Janice Lewis George won the DC nomination, Democratic nomination for mayor. She's a socialist. And then this Tuesday in New York, the Mamdani slate all won in the House. That was Dan Goldman lost to Brad Lander. Dan Goldman is an incumbent Democrat. Brad Lander leaned a little heavier into the socialist type stuff. And then two other ones also won. And Joe, our listeners, as you read at the top, our listeners kind of have feelings about it. Just a sample. This is Karen in Pennsylvania, and then I want your reaction on the primaries. Joe, I'm worried Republicans are going to take these socialist primary wins in New York and Washington and slap them on every Democrat when running in a swing district. Is this actually a fall problem for Democrats, or only a problem if candidates don't know how to answer it?
Well, one, Karen's right. The Republicans are going to try to, they're going to use this for sure, along with everything else. But look, they were going to call everybody running a socialist communist. You see it all the time. Trump, I think, did it again yesterday. Not about anybody, not about the Democratic Socialists. But the point here, the problem for them is it's not working anywhere. I mean, they've been doing telefrico, and trying to transgender him and everything for like ever since Paxton won the nomination.
Right.
And he's up by 2 points in the polls there. The problem they have is, first of all, look, I'm not worried about any of this. The fact is, and Alex and I have been traveling the country, as he said, you look at the candidates that are running in places like Iowa in these battleground seats, and they reflect the local district. Johnny Garcia in Texas 35, who won his nomination. He's a deputy sheriff, the perfect profile, and it's in one of the districts that the Republicans drew, one of the 5 districts that they drew, with a 57% Latino voter population in that district, thinking that Trump won Latinos in 2024. It was all built on that. Johnny Garcia winning that fight, and he ran against a progressive. There was a little bit of an ideological fight in that race, but he won, and he's the perfect candidate. You see this in Iowa with Josh Turek. The candidates, the 4 candidates that we have in the 4 congressional districts there. Rob Sand, and the governor, Auditor General, who's our gubernatorial nominee. Look, right now we're on path to win the Senate seat, the governorship, and at least 2, maybe 3 of the 4 House seats that are all currently held by Republicans in the state of Iowa. So they can try to. No one in Iowa, we talked to farmers. None of the farmers in Iowa that we talked to were worried about whatever
socialism
going or anything that's going in New York City, or Los Angeles. They're worried about how they're going to pay for their gas, their diesel, their seed, their fertilizer. You got President Trump saying no one gives a shit about housing. And there's an affordability crisis. Today, it turns out that Americans searching the word affordability has gone up 500% in the last 2 weeks. which shows the concern that's growing about affordability with the president who's saying no one cares about it.
That's not something that's in a poll, right? I mean, that's
No.
something that actually people are like doing.
No, and that's what going on the road and actually talking to people like we did in Iowa, and then you go down to Alabama and you see, in Alabama, Trump's approval was +2 back in March. It's now -8. -8 in Alabama. I would remind people that when Doug Jones won in 2017, Trump's approval, because he had just won in 2016 and had, most of the crazy chaos crap was still not registering with a lot of Americans. It's taken all this time for it to register. But back then he had a 68% approval rating, in the state of, and I actually think it was higher than that, but the number that sticks in my head is 68. But my point is, it's not 68 anymore. It's like 42. It's -8. So you see that happening across the country. Of course, they're going to go to the culture stuff and to fear stuff. But I'll tell you something, that stuff generally only works, or it works a hell of a lot better if there's a roaring economy going on. It doesn't work well when people have to fill up their gas tanks, can't pay for their groceries, and so I just think, no, if I'm a Democrat running, you ask what should they do? It's like, I don't care. No one here cares about what's happening in New York City.
Right.
What I care about is what's happening with and you'll see. So no, I'm not worried about any of that at all. I just don't see any of that. And the other thing too that we should talk about is what has been clear so far, even in some of these, like the Tallarico Crockett race as a good example of this. She wasn't Democratic Socialist, but she was, running hard on the progressive side of things, more aligned with the Bernie Sanders kind of Democrats than Tallarico, obviously. Tallarico won. And we're seeing this in race after race. There's no ongoing division. People get what the threat is, what the real threat here is. We can have our primary squabbles, but the real threat is Donald Trump and MAGA. And so that's creating the party's unified already, and Tallarico's 2 points ahead of Paxson in the latest polls. If there was ongoing, division or worry, I'm not sure that would happen. Paxson will try to exploit that, but I don't think anybody's staying home on the pro-democracy side, including a hell of a lot of independents. And as we've been reporting over and over again, including a lot of double haters who, they hate the Democratic brand, but voting 8-2 for Democrats over a brand that's even more toxic, Trump and MAGA. That's why they will go to the culture war stuff, but the culture war stuff isn't working. And I think
the one
thing
thing
not going to happen. Yeah,
I would just add to this is, and this actually, it kind of proves
this
the
is
point
what
from
he
the other
does.
side.
He asked me the question, then I answer it, and then he gets to the one thing that he really wanted to say. Okay.
Well, and
I'm kidding with him. Go on.
So you look at this from the other side, and it actually kind of proves the point too. Incumbent Democrats are losing primaries. Not everywhere. Again, it's kind of a smattering, but what I'm seeing is it's less about everyone woke up and decided to be socialist, and more about voters are waking up and realizing that what they have right now, what's going on in the government, what's going on with their representation isn't working for them. And in a lot of these places, the Democratic primaries are the only times that they're going to actually be able to go say, hey, it's not working for me. The economy's not working for me. To your point, I'm going to fire the person in charge and just try anybody else.
Yeah, that's why I've been saying this is not a blue wave. This is a wave of change. This is independence. It's Democrats saying, many of them saying, hey, I don't want to do the same old, same old. We need change in the party too. But it's change. That's what this all is. I mean, you look at Cornyn and Paxson. Cornyn was the incumbent. Paxson as corrupt as he was change within the party, right? It was, we're not going to do the same thing. We're going to send Paxson. Okay, the Democrats said we're not doing the same thing. We're sending Tallarico. Now you got Paxson as the long Trine Paul, who's been a corrupt AG, and Tallarico's changed. That's my point. This is my point. Like what's happening here, and that's what Rob Sand and Turek. When you look at Ken Reynolds, the governor of Iowa, and they've run the state for decades. Every office except the Auditor General office. And then what did they do when Rob won re-election? They stripped the Republican legislature and the governor, stripped him of the auditor of any power in the state to audit or to report what they were spending money on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as their very first act after he was reelected as auditor, the people of Iowa have said, like, that's insane. And he's got a lead, and I think, and he's raised more money than anybody in the state, and has built a huge organization. Because I think this is going to be look. We have to swamp them. They're going to do everything they can to mess around with the election. The way people say, well, what's the party doing? Do they have the lawyers and all that stuff? Yeah, we're doing all that. But the one thing that really shuts the door down is when they get wiped out. I mean, when we win these seats by 10 points, not 4 points. When they can't, they can cheat and they can obstruct, but it's got to be so big that there's no question that any attempt they make or Trump makes is just so obvious that it falls on its face. And that's sort of what I think is going to happen if we all do our jobs.
So this is one I wanted to get to, zooming out a little bit. I know you answered this already, but I thought it was pretty good. This is from Rob in Arizona. At what point do these deep blue primary results start to create real baggage for Democrats running in purpley seats? Is there a threshold? And this is his point. I know we're not worried about it now, but he says, is there a threshold where this becomes a national problem, or is it mostly cable news panic? Like, yeah, there's a threshold, but it's never going to get hit. Like if everybody were doing it,
well, no,
sure. If you put a socialist up in Iowa or Alaska, okay, then you got to run against socialism in that place. But that's not what's happening here. It's less about, okay, there's 36 instead of 35. It's where the candidate is that matters here.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point here is that if you none of the people that were elected for city council, I don't think or Congress in New York could win the first district of Iowa, or win in Alabama or wherever. I mean, that's not going to.
No, they couldn't win a primary there. That's the other thing.
I don't think
not just the general.
And Tallarico probably couldn't win a primary in New York City. So it's a big tent, and the people we've nominated tend to be pretty good at being authentic at representing that district. And so, try making Rob Sand into a Democratic socialist, not going to work. And by the way, he can say, I don't like what I'm seeing. He could. It's just not going to work. I just don't see that as a. And yes, it is cable news panic. And what's crazy is that cable news panic does not extend the other way. You don't see cable news. Why are the Republicans nominating all these people who do not live in their states? Which is, by the way, happening everywhere. The guy in Iowa, Lane, it lives in Kansas, and his kids are in Kansas schools. Tuberville lives in Florida. The lieutenant governor candidate in Alabama lives in Tennessee. You've got, and these are just a couple. They're happening everywhere, but they don't do that. Why are they nominating all these corrupt? What is it a problem?
Right.
All this corruption that they keep nominating corrupt people like Paxson, who the Republican legislature impeached for corruption, not the Democratic legislature. The Republican legislature in Texas impeached, and went after Paxson for corruption. They've nominated him as their lead guy for in the state against Tallarico. So but there's no panic. Like that's what I'm saying. Did you see any breathless cable news panic about it? No, no. Certainly not on Fox, and certainly not on CNN and MSNBC. Now, of course, everybody is doing the oh my gosh, and there's no lot. Look, the one thing I can tell you, and we've said this before about the Democratic Party, is yes, they're going to be spirited primaries. We're a big tent party.
Yep.
And we've got a primary in Massachusetts between Senator Markey and Seth Moulton. There's not, that one's more generational, but these primaries are going to play out. Turek and Zach Walz in Iowa.
Yeah.
Two fantastic candidates, not a whole lot of issue differences between them, more stylistic, but Turek won. And again, it was hotly contested. I mean, millions of dollars on both sides, including, attacks and stuff. Guess what? Turek won, and he's ahead in Iowa against Henson. And so far, I don't see any signs that any of the fights, whether they're ideological, generational, et cetera, are weakening the party. If anything, as you saw repeatedly, the turnout in these primaries for us are sky high. In Alabama, Doug Jones' turnout in the Democratic primary for governor was up 116%. On the Republican side, where they had even more money spending between multiple candidates for governor and Senate and senator, they declined. Their turnout declined 25%. Same, that's been going on across the country as well, where there's a higher energy between Democrats and Republicans in these primary fights. The turnout's much higher on the has been higher on the Democratic side. And then you've got all the signs that we're seeing where independents, and most of these are heavily voting with the Democrat in these races, or telling pollsters that they intend to, but real votes counted, they've been doing that. And the double haters that are voting 8-2 for Democrats, that again just continually show that yes, the Democratic Party has its problems. Yes, I'm not going to deny that the brand has been toxic, et cetera. But again, in the last 3-4 months, it's now become clear that there's a more toxic brand in the American politic, and it's Trump and MAGA. And somehow the talking heads and the cable news panic isn't talking about that. The one thing that's clear is there's now a brand more toxic than Democrats. No, they want to keep talking about the Democrats. So, I don't think it's registering. I don't think it's going to work. I think, look, they're going to go into this week-long thing here. It's the story that now maybe the earthquakes, tragic earthquakes in Venezuela, will get them to move on to something else. But it's just the cable news panic of the week. Which maybe that's what we should start a thing on our show. What's the cable news panic of the week?
Oh, that'd be too easy. Yeah. I want to hit this last one real quick because I know we talked about the open. Joe, what the hell's going on with Trump in the Senate right now? Jenna from Ohio pointed out that there's a bipartisan housing bill sitting there right now, which, by the way, not all the senators from Alabama signed, which we can talk about on another episode, or voted for. But why didn't Trump sign the housing? Is he just, her question is more, is he now so into his hissy fit about the Save America Act that he's cutting off his nose to spite his face? Like, is this Trump, or is there something else going on here?
No, it's Trump. It's Trump. I mean, this is him. He's having a hissy fit because they voted to limit his war powers in Iran. He's mad at the Republicans in the Senate. He wants them to pass his Save America Act, which is, of course, his bill to avenge the stolen election of 2020 and to punish voters who don't agree with him. And it doesn't have any votes in the Senate. Not any nearly. This is a Senate, by the way, that has bowed over and over and over again, but they will not bow on the Save America Act. There aren't the votes there for him, even on the Republican side. So What he's doing is, okay, guy, you want to do affordable housing? I'm not signing any bill
Right.
until you pass my Save My Ass Act, which they're not going to do. And so he's just sort of holding them hot. Look, held the American people hostage over, by going into Iran with, your gas tank hostage, I guess is the way to talk about it. He doesn't care. And he proved it when he said that no one was concerned about housing and that the housing bill was bullshit or whatever. Every Republican, they so badly wanted that thing. They wanted a signing ceremony in the White House where they had done something, anything about, said we're doing something about affordable housing. Democrats, it wasn't much, but it was at least something. So Democrats went with it. And we want to do something on affordable housing. So you had this bipartisan. I think only 4 or 5 senators voted against doing anything about housing. One of them, Tommy Tuberville in Alabama. And by the way, he sure as hell wants that Save America Act for Trump, which is just, it goes, it's just a bill to hurt, to make it tougher. So he wants to doesn't want to make it easier for you to get lower housing bills. He doesn't want that. He wants to make it tougher for you to vote. You have to bring your passport to the polling place. I mean, come on. By the way, you could do both. He could sign the housing bill, but no, he's holding it hostage because he doesn't care. He cares. What he's saying is, yeah, tougher on you to afford housing because I want to make it tougher on you to vote. So either way, he's screwing you. And this Senate, which has been more, the Republicans in the Senate that have been more about him, anything he wants. You're starting to see the signs of, we're starting to get into lame duck Trump land, where they are starting to get. First of all, their careers they're getting really close to an election that they now know. And this final thing with the housing and the SAVE Act is just more clarity to them that he doesn't care. He'll take them all down with him. And by the way, they've all been on that, not a roller coaster. They've been on the water slide down the entire way with him. And to now try to jump off, good luck. You're going deep end, and you're not good swimmers.
I think that's a very good place for us to wrap up today, Joe. We're just about out of time. Anything else you want to hit? Otherwise, we got travel to go do.
Yeah, I got to get to a meeting and not playing. And you too. So thanks, Alex. And thanks everyone for listening to or watching that Trippi Show. Make sure to join us at sez.us. It's a civil social network for real people, no algorithms, no bots, just real conversation about what we need to do to fight this back. So I hope you'll join us there. This podcast will always be free and is part of Lincoln Square. So check out the latest at lincolnsquare.media. Also, if you listen to this episode on YouTube, please like and subscribe to get alerts when we post the next episode. And it actually helps us when you do that on all your social platforms. It gets more people to know that this podcast exists and gets the information to them. You can always send us a question to thattrippishow@gmail.com or leave a question in the review on iTunes. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.